The night I almost lost everything, I was sitting on the floor of my apartment eating cold cereal with a plastic fork because I had already sold the silverware. I am not exaggerating. The bowl was cracked. The milk was 2 days past its date. And taped to the inside of my front door was a white envelope with the words "Final Notice" stamped in red ink so bright it looked like it was screaming at me. 7 days. That is all I had left. 7 days to come up with 4 months of rent or be out on the street with nothing but a duffel bag and whatever pride I had left, which at that point was not much. I had lost my job at the marketing firm 8 weeks earlier. Downsizing, they called it. I called it being 25 years old and completely invisible to a world that did not care whether I survived or disappeared. My name is Ethan Cole, and on the worst night of my life, someone knocked on my door. It was almost midnight. I was not expecting anyone. I had stopped expecting anything from anyone months ago. My friends had drifted away the way friends do when you stop being fun and start being a problem. My parents lived 3 states away in Ohio and had their own debts to drown in. I set the cereal bowl down, wiped my hands on my jeans, and walked to the door, half expecting my landlord coming to deliver another warning in person. But when I opened it, the person standing in the hallway was not my landlord. She was a woman I had never seen in my life, and she took my breath away in a way I was not prepared for. She looked like she had stepped out of a different world entirely. Late 40s, but the kind of late 40s that made you forget numbers existed. Fair skin that caught the dim hallway light like porcelain. Long silky dark honey hair falling past her shoulders in soft waves. A fitted charcoal coat over a black dress that traced a figure most women half her age would envy. She stood with the kind of posture that said she owned whatever room she walked into. Her eyes were a deep shade of green, sharp and intelligent, and right now they were staring directly into mine. "Ethan Cole," she said. Not a question. A confirmation. My stomach tightened. "Who is asking?" She glanced past me into the apartment, at the bare walls, the cracked bowl on the floor, the eviction notice taped to the door. If she judged me, her face did not show it. "My name is Victoria Sinclair," she said calmly. "I own this building. And I am here because I have a proposal for you. If this story is already pulling you in, take a second and hit that like button. Trust me, what happens next is something you will not see coming." I blinked. "You own this building?" She nodded once. "I purchased it 6 weeks ago from the previous management company." That explained why I had not recognized her. I leaned against the doorframe, crossing my arms over my chest, trying to look more composed than I felt, which was a skill I had perfected over years of pretending my life was not falling apart. "So you are here to personally kick me out? That is a premium service." The faintest smile crossed her lips. Not warm exactly, more like she was cataloging my response, but it changed her entire face. Made her look less untouchable and more human. "I am here to offer you a job," she said. "Can I come in?" Everything in my gut told me this was strange. Midnight visits from beautiful building owners offering jobs to broke tenants did not happen in the real world. But I was 7 days from homeless. My real world was already broken. I stepped aside. Fair warning, the place is not exactly ready for company. She walked in like she had been there 100 times. She did not sit. She stood in the center of my small living room, turning slowly, taking it all in. The stained ceiling. The radiator that clanked every 4 minutes. The mattress on the floor because I had sold the bed frame weeks ago. "You have been living like this?" she asked quietly. "It is called minimalism. Very trendy." Her eyes met mine and something flickered in them. Something I could not identify. "I need someone," she said, getting straight to the point. "Someone I can trust, who does not know anyone in my world, who has no connections to the people around me. That is a very specific type of loneliness you are describing. It is a very specific type of problem. She pulled a folded paper from her coat and held it out. I took it. A printed agreement. Personal assistant. 60 days. Full compensation including complete rent clearance. I read it twice to make sure I was not hallucinating. You want to hire me as your personal assistant, I said slowly. Yes. You do not know me. I know enough. I have done my research, Ethan. You are smart. You are resourceful. No criminal record, no problematic connections, and 3 former employers who described you as one of the hardest working people they had ever met. I stared at her. You ran a background check on me? I run background checks on everyone in my buildings. That is either very responsible or very unsettling. It is both, she said, and this time her smile had warmth in it. I should have said no. Any reasonable person would have asked more questions. But I was not reasonable that night. I was desperate. And desperation has a funny way of turning strangers into lifelines. When do I start? Tomorrow morning. 7 a.m. Penthouse. Do not be late. She turned toward the door. Just before stepping out, she paused and looked back. And Ethan? Eat something better than that. She glanced at the cereal. You will need your energy. Then she was gone. I stood in my empty apartment holding a piece of paper that either just saved my life or made it infinitely more complicated. I did not sleep that night. I just stared at the agreement and wondered what Victoria Sinclair was really looking for, because I knew even then that it was more than an assistant. The next morning, I stood outside the penthouse at 6:58. I had showered, put on the best clothes I still owned, a black button-down with a small tear near the cuff that I hoped she would not notice, and told myself to act professional. I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror. Fair skin, sharp jaw, the kind of athletic build that came from years of restless energy rather than any gym membership. I looked decent enough. Tired, but decent. She opened the door before I knocked. Her hair was pulled back loosely. She wore a cream blouse and tailored black pants. She looked effortlessly perfect and I hated that I noticed. You are early, she said. You told me not to be late. I overcompensated. Good habit. The penthouse was enormous. Floor-to-ceiling windows showing the entire Boston skyline. Warm wooden floors. A kitchen bigger than my entire apartment with marble countertops. Books lined every shelf. Fresh flowers sat on a dining table that could seat 8. It smelled like coffee and something expensive I could not name. She walked briskly down the hallway explaining my duties. Calendar management. Meeting coordination. Logistics. Everything color-coded and precise. What about yellow? I asked. She stopped. There is no yellow. There should be. Yellow could mean maybe. Life needs more maybes. She stared at me for 3 seconds. You are going to be a handful, aren't you? You did your research. You should already know that. I caught the slightest shake of her head, but also the slightest smile. That first week was a blur. Victoria worked 14-hour days. She took calls during meals, answered emails at midnight, and moved through her world with intimidating precision. My job was to keep everything organized and occasionally remind her to eat. She forgot constantly. By day 3, I started leaving sandwiches on her desk without being asked. By day 5, she stopped pretending she did not need them. What surprised me was how quickly the walls between us began to crack. Like the time I reorganized her filing system and she stood in the doorway staring at it. "You alphabetized by client name and subcategorized by project date," she said. "Was that wrong?" "No. It is exactly how I would have done it." She looked at me differently after that. Not boss to employee. Like someone recognizing a pattern they did not expect. Or the time I accidentally used her personal mug, a white one with a small chip on the handle. She saw me drinking from it and her expression flickered. Something raw and quick dawned before I could catch it. "I am sorry," I said. "I did not know it was yours." "It is fine." But her voice was tight, and I knew it was not fine. 2 weeks in, she insisted I eat dinner with her at the table instead of at my desk. "You are not a servant, Ethan. Assistants eat at tables." "Is that in the handbook?" "I am writing the handbook as we go." We ate in comfortable silence before she asked, "Why marketing?" "Because I was good at selling things I did not believe in." That is cynical. That is honest. She studied me. "What would you do if money was not a factor?" "Open a bookshop," I said without hesitation. "Small one. Somewhere quiet. The kind with armchairs and bad lighting and a cat that judges your choices." Her eyebrows rose. "A bookshop? Do not look so surprised. I contain multitudes." She laughed. Really laughed. Full and unguarded and warm. It changed her entire face, softened every sharp edge, and something shifted in my chest that I was not ready to examine. If you are enjoying this story, drop a comment telling me what you think Victoria is hiding. I read every single comment, and some of you are incredibly good at guessing what comes next. By the third week, banter had become our language. "Ethan, you rescheduled my Tuesday meeting without asking." "Because you had 3 meetings back to back and no lunch break. You would have eaten your own frustration by 2 p.m. I do not get frustrated. You reorganized your pen drawer yesterday because the blue one was slightly darker than the others." Silence. That is attention to detail, not frustration. "Whatever helps you sleep, Victoria." She pointed at me. "You are dangerously close to being fired." "You will not fire me. I am the only one who remembers you are allergic to cilantro." Her finger dropped. Her lip twitched. That is annoyingly valid. But underneath the lightness, I noticed things that worried me. She disappeared into her bedroom some evenings. I heard her on the phone, voice low and strained. Once I saw her sitting alone in the dark living room at 2 a.m, face wet with tears. And then I found the photograph. Organizing a drawer, I discovered a framed picture of a young man, early 20s, with her same green eyes. On the back, in faded handwriting, it read, "Daniel. My everything." I put it back and never mentioned it. But something heavy settled in my chest. 1 month in, everything changed. Victoria had a meeting with a man named Marcus Drake. She told me to clear her entire afternoon and under no circumstances enter the conference room. "Who is he?" I asked. Her jaw tightened. "My ex-husband." The walls were not thick enough to block the shouting. His voice was deep and aggressive. Hers was strained but controlled. I caught fragments. "You cannot keep running from this, Victoria." "I am not running. I am protecting what is mine." "What is yours?" "You mean what should have been Daniel's?" Terrible silence. When the door opened, Marcus walked out. Tall, mid-50s, silver hair, expensive suit. Power-worn like cologne. He saw me and stopped. "New assistant?" Must be nice having someone young around. Fills the void, doesn't it? Before I could respond, he was gone. I found Victoria sitting perfectly still. Daniel was my son, she said quietly. He died 5 years ago. He was 20 years old. My chest cracked open. Victoria. Marcus blames me. He says I worked too much. That I was not there enough. That if I had been home that night instead of at a meeting. She stopped. Daniel was driving home from a friend's house. The roads were icy. He lost control. He was alone. That was not your fault. Marcus has spent 5 years making sure I believe it was. Her voice broke. I reached across the table and took her hand. She stiffened, then her fingers curled around mine and held on like I was the only solid thing in the room. The chipped white mug had been Daniel's. That night, we sat on her couch talking for hours. She told me about his laugh, his terrible taste in movies, the sticky notes with bad jokes he used to hide around the house. She still found them sometimes. Marcus is suing me, she whispered. He wants half of everything. The buildings, properties, investments. He claims he is entitled to Daniel's inheritance share. Can he do that? His lawyers say yes. Mine say it will be a long, ugly fight. Then you fight. And you do not fight alone. She squeezed my hand. I was alone before you knocked into my life. Technically, you knocked on mine. Details. Things shifted after that night. The air between us felt charged. Our hands brushed more often. Conversations lasted longer. I caught her watching me, and when our eyes met, neither of us looked away quickly enough. One evening I was cooking pasta in her kitchen, badly. She walked in and leaned against the counter. You are boiling the water wrong. How does someone boil water wrong? You salt it first. I am being judged on my water technique. This is a new low. She moved closer, reaching past me for the salt. Her arm brushed mine. Neither of us moved. She was close enough that I could smell her perfume, something subtle and warm. Her face turned slightly, inches from mine. Ethan, she said softly. Yeah? The pasta is overflowing. I jumped back. Water hissed against the burner. She burst out laughing while I scrambled. Smooth, she said. That was entirely your fault. My fault? You and your strategically timed salt intervention. She shook her head. You are absolutely ridiculous. And yet you keep me around. Against my better judgment. We ate slightly overcooked pasta at the dining table with city lights below, and I knew I had fallen completely and irreversibly in love with a woman 20 years older than me. And I did not care about a single one of those complications. If this story is making you feel something, subscribe to the channel so you never miss stories like this. We pour our hearts into every single one. The following week, Marcus made his move. Victoria was standing at the window, face pale. He leaked it. Us. She handed me her phone. A business blog headline read, Real Estate Mogul Victoria Sinclair in questionable relationship with 25-year-old employee. Photos of me entering the penthouse late at night. Us walking into a restaurant together. Marcus had been watching, building ammunition. Not just for the lawsuit, but to destroy her reputation. The board is calling an emergency meeting, she said. Investors are asking questions. If they lose confidence in me, I could lose everything. The buildings. The company. My father's legacy. I should leave, I said. The words tasted like poison. If I am not here, he has nothing. No. She said it fiercely. I lost Daniel. I lost my marriage. I lost 5 years to guilt. I will not lose you. She crossed the room and grabbed my face. Her fingers trembled. Do you understand me? Then she kissed me. Not gentle. Desperate and raw and full of every unspoken word. I pulled her closer and kissed her back, and something locked inside both of us shattered free. This will get worse before it gets better, she whispered. I know. People will judge us. The age. The power dynamic. Let them. Ethan. Victoria, I have spent my entire life pretending everything is fine while falling apart. For the first time something feels real. I am not walking away. A tear slipped down her cheek. You make me feel like I deserve to be happy again. You do. You always did. The board meeting was brutal. 12 people in expensive suits. Marcus at the far end looking like a predator who had already won. Victoria presented flawless financials. Then Marcus spoke. Not about business. About character. About a woman who hired a young man, waived his rent, and carried on a relationship behind closed doors. He made it sound predatory. I watched through the glass conference room, fists clenched white. During recess she came out, walked past me to the stairwell, hands shaking. He is winning, she said. He is performing. There is a difference. The board does not know the difference. Then show them something else. Not records. Not margins. You. When the meeting resumed, Victoria did something no one expected. She stood without notes and spoke from her soul. She told them about Daniel. About losing him. About guilt that nearly destroyed her. About the night she knocked on my door because she saw someone falling apart the way she had. About Marcus and 5 years of blame disguised as grief. Yes, I fell in love with someone who works for me, she said. Yes, he is younger. No, I did not plan it. Love does not come with a strategic plan or a board presentation. It comes when someone makes you laugh for the first time in 5 years. When someone leaves sandwiches on your desk because they noticed you forgot to eat. When someone holds your hand and says your pain is not your fault. Silence. You can remove me from this company. But you cannot tell me I do not deserve to be loved. The vote was unanimous. Marcus's claims were dismissed. Victoria retained full control. Outside, she collapsed into my arms. You did it, I said. We did it. Marcus stormed past us. This is not over, he said. Yeah, I replied calmly. It is. The months that followed felt like emerging from a long winter. Victoria created a foundation in Daniel's name offering scholarships for young people facing financial hardship. She asked me to help run it. You want me to run a foundation? I want you to do something that matters. I thought you wanted me to salt water correctly. She threw a pen at me. I moved into the penthouse because she asked and because there was nowhere else I wanted to be. We fell into a rhythm as natural as breathing. Morning coffee. Arguments about whose turn it was to cook. Her stealing my hoodies. Me hiding sticky notes around the apartment with terrible jokes because she once told me Daniel used to do that. The first time she found one, she cried and laughed simultaneously. What do you call a fake noodle? She read aloud. An impasta. She groaned. That is awful. You are smiling. I am smiling at how bad it is. Still counts. 6 months after the night she knocked on my door, we sat on the building's rooftop. The city shimmered below. She leaned against my shoulder. Do you ever think about how strange this is? She asked. Every day. Does it bother you? The age. The circumstances. The way people look at us. I turned to face her. Victoria, 6 months ago I was eating expired cereal with a plastic fork. I had given up on everything including myself. Then you knocked on my door. Not because you wanted something from me, but because you saw someone who needed what you needed. A chance. You gave me my life back. You make me laugh. You make me think. You make me want to be the kind of man who deserves everything you are. She touched my face. You already are. I pulled a small box from my jacket. Simple silver ring catching rooftop light. I know I am 25. I know this does not look the way the world says it should. But I have never been more sure of anything. Victoria Sinclair, will you marry me? She stared at the ring. Then at me. You bought a ring? I sold the cereal bowl. She burst out laughing through tears. Yes. 1,000 times yes. I slid it on her finger and kissed her under a sky full of stars, and for the first time in both our lives, neither of us felt alone. We married 3 months later at a lakeside cottage her father had owned. My mother cried the moment she met Victoria. That woman loves you like the world depends on it, she whispered. When Victoria walked toward me in a simple ivory dress, hair falling loose, I thought about that night. The eviction notice. The empty apartment. The knock that changed everything. Sometimes the worst night of your life is just the door opening to the best chapter you have not written yet. All you have to do is answer the knock. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe and hit that bell so you never miss a story. And remember, your story is not over. The best part might just be beginning.